Emma stood at the train station with flowers in her shaking hands, watching passengers step off one by one. Her heart beat faster with each face that wasn't his. 7 years. She had counted every single day, 2,555 days of waiting, hoping, believing. The letters had stopped coming 6 months ago, but she told herself he was just busy, that he would explain everything when he came home. She wore the same blue dress she wore the day he left, the one he said made her eyes look like the summer sky. Her fingers touched the simple silver ring on a chain around her neck, not an engagement ring, but a promise ring he had given her when they were just 17. "Wait for me, Emma," he had whispered that cold December morning. "I'll go to the city, make enough money for us to get married, and come back for you." 7 years, that's all I need. She had smiled through her tears and promised she would wait forever if she had to. But now, as she watched the tall man with dark hair step off the train, her whole world stopped. It was Daniel. After 7 long years, he was finally home. But something was terribly, terribly wrong. 7 years earlier, Emma and Daniel had been the kind of young love that made everyone in their small town smile. They grew up next door to each other in Riverside, a tiny town where everyone knew everyone, where nothing exciting ever happened, and where dreams felt too big to come true. Daniel was the son of a factory worker who had died when Daniel was only 12, leaving his mother to raise him and his 2 little sisters alone. Emma's parents owned the only bakery in town, and every morning she would save Daniel the biggest cinnamon roll, wrapped in paper with little hearts she drew on it. They would sit by the river after school, throwing stones into the water and talking about the future. Daniel wanted to be an architect. He would draw buildings in his notebook, beautiful tall structures that seemed impossible for a boy from Riverside. Emma wanted to be a teacher, to stay in their town and help children learn and dream. "We are so different," Daniel would laugh, lying in the grass beside her. "You want to stay, and I want to see the world." But Emma would just smile and hold his hand. "Then see the world and come back to me," she would say. "I'll be right here, waiting." They were only children then, but their love felt as real as anything in the world. When Daniel turned 21, his mother got sick, really sick. The medical bills piled up like mountains, and his sisters needed to go to college. Daniel worked 3 jobs in Riverside, at the gas station, at the lumber yard, and cleaning the school at night, but it wasn't enough. The town was dying slowly, with factories closing and young people leaving one by one. That's when Mr. Harrison, a businessman who sometimes passed through town, offered Daniel a chance. "Come to Capital City," he said. "Work for my construction company. You're smart, hardworking. In 7 years, I'll make you a project manager. You'll earn enough to take care of your family and build any life you want." Daniel's hands shook when he told Emma. They sat by their river, the same spot where they had shared their first kiss 3 years before. 7 years is so long, Emma whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. "You'll forget about me. You'll meet someone prettier, smarter, someone from the city." Daniel took her face in his hands and looked into her eyes with such intensity that she could barely breathe. "Emma Carter, I could live 100 years and travel the whole world, and I would never find anyone I love more than you. 7 years will pass like nothing. I'll write you every week. I'll save every penny. And when I come back, I'll build you the most beautiful house this town has ever seen, and we'll fill it with love and children and happiness." He took off the silver ring his father had given him before he died and put it on a chain around her neck. "This is my promise," he said. "Wait for me." And Emma, sweet Emma with her whole heart on her sleeve, smiled through her tears and promised she would. The first year was hard but hopeful. Daniel's letters came every Wednesday like clockwork, thick envelopes filled with pages of his messy handwriting telling her about the city, about the buildings he was helping construct, about how he missed her smile and the way she laughed at his terrible jokes. Emma kept every single letter in a blue box under her bed. She would read them over and over at night, tracing his words with her fingers. She took the teaching job at Riverside Elementary, and every day she would walk past the empty lot by the river where Daniel had promised to build their house. She would stand there and imagine it, white walls, a blue door, a garden full of flowers, and a swing set for the children they would have. The second and third years were harder. The letters came less often, every 2 weeks, then once a month. Daniel wrote about working late, about studying at night to learn more about architecture and design, about his mother's health improving and his sisters doing well in school. "I'm so close to my goal, Emma," he wrote in one letter. "Mr. Harrison says I'm the best worker he's ever had. Just a few more years and I'll have enough saved for us." Emma's friends started getting married, having babies, moving on with their lives. They would ask her gently, "Emma, are you sure he's coming back? 7 years is such a long time. Maybe you should start seeing other people, just in case." But Emma would just smile and touch the ring around her neck. "He promised," she would say simply. "And I believe him." Emma's flowers fell to the ground, petals scattering across the dirty train station floor, but she didn't notice. Daniel stood 20 feet away, and he looked different, taller somehow, dressed in an expensive suit she'd never seen before, his hair cut in a style that men in Riverside didn't wear. But it was his eyes that frightened her the most. Those warm brown eyes that used to look at her like she was the only person in the world now looked at her with something that made her stomach twist, guilt, sadness, and something else she couldn't name. Then Emma saw her. A beautiful woman with long black hair stepped off the train behind Daniel, holding his arm. She wore a cream-colored dress that hugged a round, pregnant belly, 7 or 8 months along, Emma guessed, because her mother had been pregnant with her little brother once and looked the same. The woman smiled up at Daniel with pure love, then followed his gaze to Emma. Her smile faded. Daniel walked toward Emma slowly, like he was walking toward his own execution. "Emma," he said, and his voice cracked on her name. "Emma, I can explain." But Emma couldn't hear anything except the sound of her own heart breaking into a million pieces. 7 years. 2,555 days. Every single letter she had saved. Every lonely night she had waited. Every time she had defended him to her friends who said he wouldn't come back. All of it for this moment, this horrible, crushing moment when she realized that the boy who had promised to love her forever had fallen in love with someone else. They sat on a bench outside the train station, Emma, Daniel, and the woman whose name was Sarah. Sarah wanted to leave, to give them privacy, but Daniel held her hand and said, "No, you should hear this too. Emma deserves the whole truth." His voice was different from the boy Emma remembered, deeper and tired, like he had lived a whole lifetime in 7 years. Daniel told them everything. How the first 4 years had gone exactly as planned. He worked hard, saved money, sent letters every chance he got. How he thought about Emma every single day and kept her picture in his wallet. But then Mr. Harrison's daughter Sarah came to work at the company. She was kind and smart, and she had also lost someone. Her fiancé had died in a car accident 2 years before. "At first we were just friends," Daniel said, staring at his hands. She understood what it was like to miss someone. "We would talk during lunch breaks about our lives, our losses. Emma, I swear I never meant for anything to happen. I loved you. I still..." He stopped, unable to finish. Sarah spoke quietly, her hand on her belly. "I didn't know about Emma for the longest time. Daniel never told me he had someone waiting for him. When I finally found out 6 months ago, I told him he had to go back, had to honor his promise. But by then..." She looked down at her stomach. "By then I was already pregnant, and Daniel said he couldn't leave his child." Emma listened to it all with tears streaming silently down her face. The worst part wasn't that Daniel had fallen in love with someone else. The worst part was that Sarah seemed nice, genuinely sorry, genuinely in love with Daniel the same way Emma had been. There was no villain in this story, no evil person to blame. Just 3 people caught in an impossible situation. "I came back to tell you in person," Daniel said, and now he was crying too, tears running down his face in a way Emma had only seen once before, the day his father was buried. "I couldn't let you hear it from a letter or through town gossip. Emma, you deserved better than that. You deserved better than all of this." He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket, thick and heavy. "This is everything I saved for us, for our house, our life together. I want you to have it. Buy that little cottage you always loved on Maple Street. Go back to university and get your master's degree. Travel somewhere beautiful. Emma, please, build a wonderful life, even if it's not with me." Emma stared at the envelope but didn't take it. When she finally spoke, her voice was so quiet they had to lean in to hear her. "Do you remember what you said to me the day you left? You said you could live 100 years and travel the whole world and never find anyone you loved more than me. Was that a lie, Daniel? Or did you just not love me enough to keep that promise? Daniel's face crumpled. Emma, don't. Please don't. But Emma kept going, 7 years of hurt pouring out of her. I turned down a teaching position in the city because I wanted to be here when you came back. I stopped going to my cousin's wedding because you said you might visit that weekend. I learned to cook all your favorite foods. I bought fabric to make curtains for a house that doesn't exist. I waited, Daniel. I waited like you asked me to. And you built a whole different life without me. The train station felt too small, too quiet. Other passengers walked by, living their normal lives, not knowing they were witnessing someone's heart completely shatter. Emma stood up and took the ring from around her neck. For 7 years it had rested against her heart, warm from her skin, a constant reminder of Daniel's promise. She held it out to him, but he wouldn't take it. Keep it, he whispered. Please, Emma. It was my father's. I want you to have it. Emma shook her head slowly and placed it on the bench between them. Your father gave this to you because he loved you and wanted you to remember him. You gave it to me as a promise. But promises that get broken shouldn't be kept. She looked at Sarah, at the woman who had the life Emma had dreamed about every night for 7 years. Take care of him, Emma said, and there was no anger in her voice, just a deep, endless sadness. He's a good man, even if he broke my heart. And take care of that baby. Make sure they know how lucky they are to have parents who love them. Sarah was crying now too. I'm so sorry, she whispered. If I could change things, if I had known. But Emma shook her head. You can't change the past. None of us can. We just have to live with the choices we make. She looked at Daniel one last time, memorizing his face, the boy she had loved since she was 14, the man she had waited 7 years for, the person who had meant everything to her. Goodbye, Daniel, she said softly. I hope you're happy. I really do. Then Emma Carter walked away from the train station, leaving behind the flowers she had bought, the ring she had worn for 7 years, and the future she had dreamed about for so long. She didn't look back. Behind her, Daniel picked up the ring with shaking hands and held it tight, realizing too late what he had lost. Some promises, once broken, can never be fixed. And some loves, no matter how true, are not strong enough to survive 7 years apart. Emma walked home through the town where everyone knew her story, where everyone would soon know about Daniel's return and his pregnant wife. She would face the whispers, the pity, the I told you SOS. But she would survive. Because Emma had learned something important during those 7 long years of waiting, she was stronger than she ever knew. The story of Emma and Daniel would be told in Riverside for many years, a tragic tale of young love, broken promises, and the cruel way that time and distance can change everything. Sometimes the saddest stories are the ones where everyone means well, where no one is truly evil, but hearts get broken anyway. And sometimes, the hardest part of love isn't saying goodbye, it's accepting that the person you waited for has become someone you no longer know.